This podcast is sponsored by Happy Warrior Kava. Be a happy warrior. Drink, relax, and enjoy the strong and smooth taste of the best-selling kava in the islands. Happy Warrior Kava.
Aloha and welcome to another episode of HNN Overtime, the Hawaii News Now sports podcast coming to you from the HNN Digital Center. I am Kyle Chinen, joined as always by Cienna Pilotin, Davis Pitner. We are back in studio.
We're
back in action.
Not a morning podcast.
Not a morning. No.
Not a morning. Mid-afternoon, right before a Kyle Chinen live shot.
Tune in. Well, it'll be over by then.
Yeah.
Tune in anyway.
Tune in.
I'm sure the viewers of HNN Overtime are loyal viewers to our normal shows anyways. So we appreciate
if you
y'all.
found us, I'm sure you're watching the regular
Hey, you know,
shows.
the couple hundred people, we respect you guys, and thank you for watching. They're the real fans.
One of which I know who does watch is Spectrum Sports' own Felipe Ojastro. He talks about it all the time. Shout out. He is the man. But we'll get to what he's going to be up to for the next couple weeks in a little bit. We got to talk first about the college ranks. The UH Rainbow Warriors coming off of another loss, unfortunately, to UNLV, the Running Rebels. They are a power this year. They've been a power for the last couple of years under Coach Odom. But I mean, when you look at the final score, 29-27,
that was close.
It was not bad at all. It was at most points a very winnable game for the Bows.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Braden Shager, 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was also the leading rusher of the game, 18 carries, 42 yards. And shout out to Jonah Pinoque, 6 receptions, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, overall, not a bad game for Braden.
Not a game, yeah.
Leading, rushing, passing.
When it's that close. Another Jonah Pinoque touchdown here. So probably had his best game ever as a Bow. So that's big for him. But, you know, it's always hard to lose the close ones. We've had a couple of these this year where, you're just so close, but can't finish it out. But, I mean, I guess it's better this way than a lot of people on the mainland who were like, this game won't even be a game. So at least they kept it close.
They definitely put up a fight.
They did.
And I will say that one interception from Shager was in the first drive of the game, and it was kind of a bobbled pass and just kind of landed right in the guy's hands. So, otherwise, a pretty solid game from them, except, late in the game, again, they kind of stall out. Little bit of controversy when it comes to maybe the replay system in the Mountain West. There was a contested catch from Jonah Pinoque that would have given them a first down. They ruled it incomplete out of bounds. And the rules are basically it's not like the NFL where they have a challenge flag where they can say, hey, take a look at this. It's really up to the refs up in the booth, up on the field as well, to take a second look at it. They didn't. They lose the down, basically, and then Timmy calls a timeout because he thought maybe I'll give him call the timeout, give them more time to look at it. Didn't look at it. Nothing happened. And then I believe it was either 3rd and long or it was already 4th down. So they essentially lose a timeout, and they don't get the call. So it was tough. And those type of situations where they weren't able to score late. Meanwhile, UNLV, when despite how good this defense has been all year, you keep them on the field too long, things will slip through the cracks a bit, and that's kind of what you saw down the stretch there.
Yeah, that was kind of I think a lot of people in the stadium were kind of confused as to what was going on, and that's that's not the coach's fault or anything. That's, not to blame any of our coaches, but it's more just a rule thing where everyone's like, what happened here? And even for the refs, you're like, why didn't you look at it? Like, Timmy clearly took a timeout for you guys to look at it, so why wasn't it looked at?
Exactly.
And looking at
everything.
Yeah.
UNLV just balled out too.
Yeah.
I mean, on their side of the ball. I mean,
they, Hawaii hang around for majority of the game, but when it matters the most, and it's late in the 4th, UNLV just found a way.
Yeah. It got to that crunch time part.
Like, all right, enough games. We got to win this one.
And, I mean, they're a contender right now for the Mountain West Championship. And, we're depending on how that shakes out, a spot in the college football playoffs. So that this team is rolling, and they did escape Hawaii with a win, and the Island Showdown trophy, that big old pineapple.
Yep. Which we all saw a couple of years ago.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. This every time UNLV plays Hawaii, it just brings back so many memories to our trip to Vegas.
Our trip over there?
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
It
was.
was.
The memories, so.
The memories keep flooding back. That was a fun trip.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Lots of memories for that one.
Definitely.
We covered UNLV and then also the Raider game.
The Raider game, Mariota.
But not the Red Raiders.
Not
the Red
Raiders.
Raiders.
Good one. That's a good one.
Oh, see.
That's true.
That's a good one. So, in that sense, speaking of the Red Raiders, we
Okay.
have to talk about the HHSAA state football playoffs starting this weekend. Lots going on this weekend, but Friday we have the semifinal of the open division, the top tier, the top echelon, and we should start with the first game, which is another go with Mililani and Kahuku. So the Trojans and the Red Raiders, there's some file footage right there, have played each other countless times. This was the OIA championship last year, the one that Mililani won, but this is a completely different team on both sides of the ball compared to when they faced the first time each other and then even the second time. So for Mililani, they get Kenny McMillan back after, he made his debut in this game against Kahuku, but it was a lopsided 35-6 win. He's gotten a little bit more time to get comfortable, get up to playing speed, and they feel more confident having hit their guy back under center. And then on the other side, you got Matai Fuyava, the St. John Bosco quarterback. We've talked about him ever since he got here in the regular season finale for Kahuku, and you've already seen it. They've looked so much more, cohesive, and the familiarity is just there now with his playmakers like Mana Carvalho and this touchdown pass right here to Aiden Manutai. He can sling it a mile, and now he's just more comfortable with this Red Raiders team, and this is when they beat Campbell, another team we'll talk about in a second, for that OIA title last week. So going to be an exciting one, an interesting matchup to say the least, as far as, it might be the third time, but, both these teams I talked to this week said, it doesn't matter. This is do or die, win or go home. And then on the other side of the bracket are a couple teams that Cienna got to catch up with.
Yeah, you guys killed it this week.
It was a busy week.
It was a busy
We kind of had to swing by a bunch of schools
Yeah.
all across the island, which, hey, we love it. We're here for this, but it was busy. So we went to Campbell and St. Louis, both in the same day. Look at those two guys.
Those guys.
Noah Lopez, St. Louis quarterback versus, star quarterback, Jaron Kavisanga Politelli. We have talked about him nonstop this whole year. Two very different teams when it comes down to it. Their whole season has looked so different.
Absolutely.
Campbell has been at the top of the hill. Top of the hill. Campbell has been the top dog for the entire season, going undefeated, but losing in that Kahuku game last week in the OIA title game. So they aren't the OIA champs, but they're still building off the momentum they've had all season long. At the end of the day, their guys are, from top to bottom, they're such a talented team.
Absolutely.
And it starts with that guy right there. And so we kind of checked out their practice. This is St. Louis, Kalai Pohaku. But at Campbell, obviously we talked to them. They're kind of reeling a little bit, but they're like, we haven't skipped a beat. It's the same thing. Just another game.
Yeah.
Now, these guys, they started out completely different. They
Yeah.
lost the first two games of their season. Credit to them, it was Kahuku and Mililani.
Absolutely,
So, shout out to that guy for booking those games. First-year head coach Tupu Alualu. What many thought would be a transition year has totally gone out the window. It's been a statement season for these guys because they're gaining momentum at the right time. Now they face Punahou and Kamehameha, their ILH opponents, 6 times, 3 times each.
That's crazy.
They're ready to see a different team. Now, obviously, are they ready for Campbell? I don't know. We will find out soon because, they can put up numbers. And so we kind of talked to a couple of their players, talked to Nainoa Lopes, St. Louis quarterback. They all know each other.
Yeah.
Jaron went to school in St. Louis for a year or for at least his freshman year. And so then he transferred out to Eva Beach where he's from. And there's a little bit of, he has a chip on his shoulder, which as he should. But also at the end of the day, they're all boys. He played with Pupu. They know each other. So it's going to be a fun one. Both games are very interesting for different reasons.
Absolutely.
And so we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited.
Jeez, you guys killed it on this coverage
It
this
was-
week. I'm just like
busy,
listening
man.
over here. I'm like,
Very
oh my god.
comprehensive.
Mililani, Eva Beach,
Oh my
Kalaipo
God.
Haku,
It's just like,
it don't
who's
end.
who?
Jeez.
It really is.
I gotta ask, Kyle, like, as Millville's finest
Oh,
right
gosh.
here, was there ever that big matchup against Kahuku? Like, did you guys have that
So,
back when you were playing? Was that a thing?
Yes, my senior year, we played Kahuku for the OA championship. If you look at the B-roll that we played at the beginning, that clip, the first clip was from that
hold on.
game.
Let's bring that up.
I wasn't on defense, but that was the game. It was the only time we saw Kahuku. Besides, we scrimmaged them at the beginning of the year. But the way the OA was split up back in the day before the Open Division, we were on the blue side of the OA, which was basically like the West, and then they were on the East side, which was basically the OA red. So we would play, I think our regular season consisted of Moanalua, Kailua, Campbell. Campbell was the big team on our side. Meanwhile, we never got to see Kahuku until that OA championship game. And we did, in fact, lose.
Hey, it's Kahuku.
It's
Lots of people
Kahuku.
gonna lose to Kahuku.
It is Kahuku. I will say from personal experience, probably the hardest I've ever had to block in my entire life. And we
Fair
still
enough.
couldn't really
Different out
score.
there.
Yeah. That was a tough game for us that year. But yeah, no, this game in particular, this matchup goes back years. Even when, before Mililani wasn't exactly a football power, you always circle Kahuku on your calendar. You always have to prepare a little bit extra for the Red Raiders and that sea of people that they
I know,
bring.
it's gonna be
Oh my
crazy.
God.
But also, too, it's interesting that Mililani's kind of playing at home.
Yeah.
Even if
Yeah.
they're quote unquote the visitors.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of there. That's your locker room. That's your field. So
True.
that is an interesting little note. Could
Yep.
not be different for these other teams that are coming into Mililani.
Yeah.
Different than last week. It was at
Farrington.
Farrington, so no real home field advantage.
I don't know.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Kahuku makes it almost like a
Oh,
home field
they
for them.
travel
Oh my
so
God! Like the
you're
sea
right.
of red
But
that
then
comes.
again, I think all these teams will. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Campbell's gonna come out, the Eva Beach
Absolutely.
side, and then St. Louis hasn't been in the playoffs in like 4 years,
Yeah.
so they're
Yeah.
gonna also come out. I think them winning the ILH championship kind of renewed their fan base and their energy. So I just think. Hey, if we're doing a traffic alert real quick, just
Yeah,
avoid
first alert.
Mililani.
Yeah. It's a
Avoid
first
Mehula
alert.
Parkway for a little bit.
Avoid Mehula
There's
Parkway.
going to be a lot of trucks, a lot of
Yeah.
flags,
Yeah.
a lot of different colors.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you were trying to get drive through Kipapa Drive tonight, it's not happening.
Yeah.
There's too many people. It's the place to be on a Friday night. And yeah, all four fan bases travel well, despite Mililani being at Mililani. But I've seen it where you bring in a team like a Campbell to Mililani, and that place, the entire side that they're on is
yeah.
rocking.
Ooh.
It'll be standing room only.
Excited.
I can guarantee you that.
100%.
Really quickly before we move on, you gotta mention the other divisions. The D1 and D2 get their playoffs going on Saturday, and we have some interesting first round matchups that we can talk about really quick. Let's talk D1 really quick. The Lilihua Mules, the OA champions for the first time since 08 or 07, so it's been a while.
Awesome.
They head to the Valley Isle to
Ooh.
face the MIL champion Lahaina Luna Lunas.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Fun fact, our very own Jelani Martinez is a coach for the Lilihua cheer team, and she said she's going to go out there too. So she's making
Cool.
the quick trip to Maui. And then another opening round neighbor island game, the Kapa'a Warriors, the winner of the KIF League, will host Kailua, the runner-ups in the OA Division 1. So a lot of neighbor island matchups. And then in the semifinals, two other really good teams in Konawaina as the number 1 seed and the Damien Monarchs
Yes.
as
Wow.
the 2 seed. Now, we've covered Damien a little bit this year, and I feel they have a really strong shot of making it all the way.
I think they do too, and that's mainly, well, not mainly, because they have a really good team, but I think the guy leading the team, AJ Tuifua, he's a star.
He really
is. He's not getting enough credit. I think it doesn't help that he plays for Damien.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry to the Damien alums here.
But it's just like he has the size, the height, like he has all the attributes you want in a quarterback. He's only a junior, so we get to see him for one more year. It would be interesting to see how far they make this run this year, if they win it all, if they could, I think. And so, yeah, we stopped by their practice. They got a good thing going over there, too.
Absolutely. It's some cooking on Hoftalen.
Oh,
and then really quickly looking at the Division II bracket, in the first round, the Roosevelt Rough Riders host Kamehameha Hawaii, the Big Island League champions. So Roosevelt, kind of slow to start, but they make their way into the state tournament as the OIA Division II champs. And another team that I was able to catch some practices of and I think have had a really solid turnaround season has been the Pac-5 Wolfpack. They won the ILH D2 despite only being the only state tournament eligible team. But, I mean, one of their statement wins this year was they beat Iolani for the first time at Iolani. And not only did they beat them, they kind of blew them out.
yeah.
It was a crazy game.
Dang.
Seth Miller, their running back, had 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
So he had a great game. And, you know, they faced the Kaiser Cougars, who are one of those teams that always seem to find themselves in the playoffs and in states. But we'll see if they can make that next step. And then the 1 and 2 seeds, the Kamehameha Maui Warriors, out of the MIL from Upcountry. And then new members, they haven't been in the playoffs in a while. The Kauai Red Raiders, Kauai High. So shout out to them. They beat out Waimea for that D2 spot into the state. So that's going to be an interesting one. Very high chance that a neighbor island will take the D2 yet again this year. So
That's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
it is exciting. All right, guys. I think the game clock on this episode is running to 0.
That was pretty good.
Keeping with
I
the
like
theme
that.
of football.
I like that.
That was a fun one. It was
pretty good.
A busy weekend, obviously, with all types of football. College, high school, NFL. I mean, Sundays are always for NFL. If you like this episode and want to check out more, I did not know where to go from there. I'm
If
so
you
sorry.
don't, just still give a like.
Still give a like. Yeah, you can check this one out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get the rest of our HNN podcasts. Video version is going to be on the HNN YouTube page. Follow our Instagram. You get to see some cool little reels every now and again.
No spaces, Kyle.
No spaces.
You will not find us.
You will not find us. We will not exist unless you do the no spaces. For Cienna Pilotin, Davis Pitner, I'm Kyle Chinen. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Aloha.
This podcast is sponsored by Happy Warrior Kava. Be a happy warrior. Drink, relax, and enjoy the strong and smooth taste of the best-selling kava in the islands. Happy Warrior Kava.